Hello, I'm Emma of Granola Gear, and I'm so excited to be chatting with you again today about what I have been knitting on lately. I finally have a decent amount of progress to show you. 100% feel like I'm out of my knitting slump that I kind of went through. Those really couple of hot days kind of killed me, and I was just not with it, but I am back and I am ready. Today, I am wearing my Busan tee, which is by Agio Knits. It's knit in Noro Kakagori, which is I think it's a cotton silk and viscose blend, something along those lines. So it's this single ply kind of. Oh, there goes the police car or ambulance, whatever it is. Sorry about that. It's this like kind of a little bit slubby, multicolored, sort of in the Noro style, but in this purple. And I really like it. This is, I think, the second time I've worn it. It's a DK weight, or the pattern is a sport. The yarn is like a DK. It's kind of one of those thick and thin yarns, so it's not. You can kind of play with your gauge there. But I haven't had a good opportunity to wear it because it's been quite warm, a little too warm for t-shirts in general, but a slightly heavier weight t-shirt was not the mood. But because it's been a little cooler out today, I think it's going to be sub 80 degrees today, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's a good day for it. And it's not super sunny, which I love the sun, but because of the Canadian wildfires, we've had some hazy days and it has not been as sunny and brutally hot. So that's the one good thing that's come out of that, I guess you could say. So all that to say, Busan tee, I like it. It's a cute piece. I think maybe like this yarn was probably a slightly odd choice for the pattern. I really think I do like kind of the smoothness in her samples, but it's what I had and I'm not unhappy with the result. So that is that. Now let us get into the finished objects that I have. I will start with something that was kind of back and forth the last couple weeks, and this is a Dew Tee by Fiber Tales. This is a DK weight piece. It was knit bottom up. It's knit in Friends Cotton Silk in the color Bottle Green, and this is done. I went back and I added a bunch of length here, and I redid the crocheted bottom. I'll insert a video, obviously, of me trying this on. The front tie is not that great. The one thing I still may edit at some point, but I just kind of need a break from it before I do that, is I may go back and redo the neckline. I think I mentioned this last time, but since reblocking and trying to stretch it out a little bit more, I kind of feel the same way. I think on me, or at least how I did it, I actually didn't do as much of there's usually when you do like an I-cord at a hem, not usually, but depending on the yarn and the pattern and all that, a lot of times there's some form of decreases, or you're not applying the I-cord to every stitch. You're doing like every couple stitches, and I did it actually at a faster rate, so less cinched in than she called for in the pattern, but I still feel like it pulls in more than I would like. It's kind of I don't know, V-necks or V-necks. It can be kind of hard to figure out where a good spot is in how it looks. Like, I'm not looking for a crazy deep V, but there's like a middle point, sorry if I bumped the mic, that looks, in my opinion, a little odd, at least on me. And I would like it to be a little bit more scooped. I have a similar feeling about another piece I'll talk about later. When it's kind of the middle ground, it feels like, okay, is this a stretched out crew neck? Or is this like a too tight or too small V-neck? You know what I mean? It's like, doesn't look like it quite fits right just because of the shape. So that's kind of my thoughts on this. It also, I think, because of the tie, it obviously brings your eyes to the V-neck and where that's placed a little bit more, which I think makes it more prominent to me. So that is something I may edit, but I am happy with the length now. Before it was much too short. The length now is fine. And I still have like, I think more than a ball left of this yarn. So I had plenty to make that edit. And I have plenty to make the I-cord edit if I want to, because I don't know how much you can tell, but like this fabric is nice and loose, and then it's pulled really tight by the I-cord here. And I can stretch it like this to make it pull out a little more evenly, but this is after I kind of stretched it while blocking, so you'd think it would be better by now. I don't know if anyone else has found this, but I feel like no one has given me a good, no pattern, no designer has given me a good way to like graft together ends of I-cord. usually they just have you start and then you have you finish, and I kind of try and do my own sort of graph together that looks okay, or I choose to just kind of whatever it's under the arm. But this one, she told you to do like 3 or 4 extra rows of the I-cord on either end, but then didn't explain, I don't believe, how to join those and what I was supposed to do with that extra at the end. So I kind of attempted to pull one through the other and then sew it together, and honestly, it just made it bigger and uglier. I don't think that was the solution. I'm not going to go back and change it, and it's not too annoying. But I don't know if anyone's got a good tutorial for how to like join I-cord ends together. Please drop it below in the comments, because I have no idea. I have tried different ways, and nothing ever looks quite right. So yeah, if you've got a for sure way that it works and it looks good, just let me know, please. But overall, I think the fit's okay. It's just a neckline thing, which I may change at some point. I like this color. I like how it turned out. Definitely be aware of the length, or you absolutely could, if I was starting this from the beginning, I would do a provisional cast on the hem, and then I do the body so I could go back and make it longer, because it's just stockinette. It wouldn't be that hard to do. It would make a big difference to be able to decide where exactly you wanted it to be. I think sometimes when things are bottom up with like tank tops and stuff, which is I think where I've seen it more, because it makes sense to do it that way, because the length of the straps also matters a lot more than when it's a tank top. But I think usually it's some kind of textured stitch. Sorry to go off on a tangent. Like in the tank tops I've done, a bit of some kind of broken rib or whatever, and it's harder to do a provisional cast on and have it look like good and natural back down. But when it's just stockinette, like, you may as well just do a provisional cast on and do it that way, or at least throw a lifeline in like the first row or two, so you could snip out your cast on row and make it longer if you wanted. Just a tip, just a thought, an easy one, a thing to make it easier if you need to make that change, generally speaking. So that is a Duty by Fiber Tales DK weight. The other piece I have is my other piece in this same yarn, but in the color Boysenberry, and this is the Calm Down Tee by Lily Kate Makes. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out at the end. Also a DK weight pattern. Do I have anything specific? Yeah, color Boysenberry. It's the same Hobby Friends cotton silk. I don't remember if I said that. And I do like how this turned out. I do have quite a bit left over of the yarn. I probably could have made it like an inch longer. This was interesting. This is my first Lily Kate Makes pattern. I have a knitting friend who has knit her patterns before and really likes them. I'm sure they're good. The one issue I had, which is interesting because someone actually commented that they had a similar issue with the pattern. So it may be a pattern problem, maybe a reading problem. I'm not really sure. At the beginning in the yoke, I think I mentioned this last time, basically my right side and my wrong side were flipped to the opposite of what they should have been. And I was very confused, and I couldn't figure out in the pattern why mine was coming out that way. It wasn't making any sense. I read it a bunch of times trying to figure out what I did wrong, and I restarted. But at some point I was like, I'm not going to restart again. I'm just going to flip it in my head. I feel confident enough to do that I'm not going to mess up the pattern too much. I don't think like I'm changing anything super integral. I'm just like correcting whatever I have wrong in mine. So yeah, it didn't change anything significantly. The fit is fine. It's just something to do with either my comprehension of the pattern or the pattern itself. I'm not sure, but right side and wrong side were backwards. And after that, I could just follow the pattern and it didn't have any effect on it. So yeah, these sleeves are like a mostly short rows cap sleeve. I think it looks pretty good. It's turned out like a nice fitted t-shirt, which is what I was hoping for. A nice crew neck. It has these ribbed details on the side of the body and on the top of the sleeve and across the saddle shoulder. And you can kind of see them, but I think it also adds to it having a better fit because you have more give right here that you won't necessarily notice. Like you can't really see when it's just at when it's loose and at rest, the ribbing right there, but it gives you some give in the body to make it fit better. There are waist decreases here, and in the pattern it was interesting. She pretty much told you to do the decreases, and then there was no like There's no reference to the length of the final garment or what the final garment length should be. Obviously, that can be a personal preference, but usually the designer gives, sorry, I keep itching my nose. I have an itchy nose. I need to just itch it and then stop. But there's no reference to what the length of the final garment should be. And I understand that it is to some degree personal preference, but also it's good to have a reference point to compare based on the style of what she gave. And it may have something to do with the yarn that you have either. Maybe you don't have enough and you're not sure how much you can get away with. So I ended up, because I didn't want to try it on a million times. I didn't want to take it off my needles and on my needles and off my needles and on my needles. I did try it on a couple times, but I ended up taking a petite knit pattern. I think I used just the cloud tee that I have, and she gives a reference to how long the finished piece should be down the center back, which I think makes the most sense because there may be some flux between this length and the underarm length. I think center back is obviously a good measurement of the whole piece. So I used that as a reference for how long I was going to knit it while I was knitting it, just because sometimes you think, oh, this will be fine, it'll grow a little bit, and then it's like still a little bit shorter than you want it to be, and you're like, I should have gone with the 18 inches instead of the 17 inches that I thought. I should have just trusted the pattern. So I used that reference for the center back measurement, and I went about that. I probably could have gone a little bit longer, but I think it's fine. Obviously, I'll show a try on, but I think I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I think it's a good length. The decreases end about here. So that was pretty far that I had to knit after the end of the decreases. I think maybe it was the decreases plus 6 rows, so it was probably like that. So that's like a good 4 or 5 inches of continued stockinette. I had plenty of yarn, but I wish I had known, because then once you're outside of like what the pattern is defined as or explained as, and you get a little bit confused, not confused, I get unsure about if I'm doing the right thing. So I would like a little bit more affirmation in that capacity. Overall, I like the pattern. I think it was pretty well written out, especially if you don't know a ton about knitting, it's probably more helpful. But sometimes I find when there's a lot of information and a lot of words and a lot of explaining, it gets more confusing. You start to second guess if what you're doing is the right thing, because maybe it's a little different than how you normally do it, or if it's not how you've seen it written before. I think it's interesting. A lot of people on the internet hate on like petite knit. Like I peruse craft snark on Reddit, like I'm sure many of us do, because it can be amusing. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're crazy, sometimes they're not. But they always snark about people like petite knit, and I get it. It's not for everyone, but I think that style of writing is really good, because there are definitely, I think, from what I've seen, not a lot of, but historically, like the Scandinavian designers just put less information in their patterns in general. And that's what I've heard from other older knitters and knitters from those countries. It's a lot more like, you should know how to do these things, and we just give you the basics. And I've seen that in some things, like in the drops colorwork pattern that I knit. It was sort of like that. There was a lot of like me figuring out how to do certain things by myself. So there's a balance. Like, you need a little bit more information than that realistically, but not too much. And I think designers like Petite Knit do a really good job with that. So yeah, that's just my unrelated spiel. And now let's get into works in progress. And I'll start with, I think this is a cast on from last time. It's not a super exciting one. This is another Petite Knit pattern, but it's another Holger sweater. I already knit one of these in my Kids Knits Cal, and I have actually 2 friends that are pregnant now. So one of them knows whether it's a girl or boy, and the other one doesn't. So this is for the one who does know. But it's just going to be another like 1 to 2 year size of the Holger sweater. It's not the Holger sweater baby. It's like toddler size. It's a DK weight pattern. I'm using all scraps again. The body of my other one was the same blue and white, which is a Drops Charisma and Dale Garn Helio, which is technically a sport weight. I don't even know which one of these is which, honestly. I think maybe the white is Drops Charisma. Maybe they're both Drops Charisma, but I had the same color of blue and cream in both yarns, so I was just kind of using them semi-interchangeably. I have a bunch of the colors that I had last time, and I also am going to have to use some different ones this time just because of quantities that I have left. I definitely have enough for like all the edges, but I didn't have of the colors that I had enough for like full sleeves. So I'm using different colors than last time for the sleeves, but then I think I'm also going to do a contrast cuff because why not? So I think her pattern does not include a contrast cuff. It's just each sleeve is one whole color, but I'm going to do each sleeve in a different color. And then the cuffs are going to be the same color on both sleeves. So that is where we're going with this. I'm on the body. Nothing really crazy to tell you about that. It's just basic striped body. We're joined. But yeah, this is like a fun piece to knit on. Obviously, it's very satisfying. You can just work on it for 30 minutes and make progress on a couple stripes. The stripes definitely make it fun as well, because who doesn't like changing colors and seeing things grow? It's hard not to just pick it up and do a couple stitches for funsies. But that is that. And then the last official knitting whip that I have that I'm going to show you is the Penelope top by Sari Nordland. This is where we're at now. Again, joined in the body. I'm about at where the center waist strap is going to be, and there's going to be like an I-cord tie. This is Sari Nordland light fingering weight piece, or fingering weights in a single strand of knitting for all of pure silk in the color ballerina. I frogged this from a tank top that I knit last year. I knit the Barbaro top, and I just did not think I was going to wear it because it was just too lacy. I have mixed feelings already. I always have mixed feelings about Sari patterns, and I really should know better. It's not that I shouldn't knit her at all. I just really need to size up one. I always go with the size that she tells me I should knit, and I think it'll be fine, and then somehow it's not. I knit size 2 because I have a 34-inch bust, and that is the appropriate size for the 34-inch bust, and then for whatever reason, it's always too small. And this time, it is not my gauge. It is not my gauge. I am using I have the same gauge. I'm using the same yarn. I'm using the same size needles, and I have the same gauge. So I don't know why it's too small. I don't know how she's grading it. I don't know if for some reason the smaller sizes have less ease or what, but it's just kind of frustrating at this point because it always seems to be this way, and I always think it'll be fine because she's a pretty big designer. I'm sure she has a tech editor. Like, I would assume that she grades to the same standard that everybody else does. I don't know why I always have this issue with these patterns. So this is the front. There's like very minimal difference between the front and the back as far as like how far down it comes. So these are my two fit issues. One, I tried it on for the first time last night, and it's tight, which is fine. It's a tank top. It's silk. That's okay. Like, I'm not hyper concerned about that. It obviously affects how far down it comes, and it is the upper part of the body, so I think that's okay. It'll probably relax with blocking. It's just kind of not really what I anticipated. I anticipated it being a little looser. So there's just an element of frustration that comes with that. Like, when you think something's going to be a certain way, when you're doing it all right, when you look at like the fit on other people and then somehow it's like totally off. I'm also, I think, more nitpicky about how summer things fit, because when it's not as oversized, there's like less wiggle room. Yeah, I'm griping. I don't hate it. I just I kind of had to put it down last night because I was a bit irritated. Also, I know because there's going to be I-cord on this, it's going to pull in more. The neckline is also higher than I wanted it to be a little bit, I think. And that is the style of the pattern. That's on me for not really recognizing that. I think sometimes it's hard to tell. I mean, just like everyone has the same issue for various reasons. Like, when you're looking at something on a model, sometimes it can be hard to visualize exactly how that's going to fit on you. Like, does that look like that on her because she has a full bust, or because she has a small bust? And is it going to look different on me because I'm different? Like, how is that going to pull? Where is that going to go? Is this really going to be high? Is whatever. It's just the proportions of her body versus the proportions of clothing. There's a lot of room for what that can look like on different people and how it pans out. So this, I think, similarly to the V-neck I was talking about with the Duty, when it comes to scoop necks, I don't really like it in the middle. I either want like a high crew neck, or I want like a scoop neck. Not a crazy one, just like within reason. And I feel like this is somewhere in the middle and it feels a little bit small on me. We'll see how it pans out in the end. I mean, worst comes to worst, I could absolutely rip out the how things are joined at the top of the straps and just knit them longer and then graft them together. So that it is fixable. I just haven't gotten to that point yet. I'm not sold. I haven't decided. So that's that. I will hopefully have the waist tie part done, and then really I don't have a ton left. It'll be the finishing that takes the longest, like the I-cord edges and stuff. But yeah, I think this will be a good piece. I mean, it's the same with everything. You just get various frustrations throughout a pattern, and you have to put it down and not think about it, and then you come back and it's fine, and you're overreacting, and just the whole game, the whole game of all of it, the problem solving things. I have a couple more things to show you, and I also have some acquisitions that I forgot to grab. But I'll start with these other things first, and then I'll get to that. So one, I have this cone of yarn that's unlabeled that I thrifted last year, and it's definitely a cotton. It's kind of like this multicolor. I've caked up some of it. It's like this pink and this really pale green and like, I don't know, a dark blue gray. I don't know if you can really see it because it's so fine from there. And I've been swatching, and this has been on my Instagram stories because I've been trying to decide what to do. Like, I've wanted to knit the Amy top by Mochi Knits. And this meets gauge when I hold 3 strands of this together, and I would have enough. I just think the colorway is too funky for a polished piece like that. And because it doesn't take a ton of yarn anyways, I kind of would rather just buy the $12 in cotton yarn and knit it. So that's kind of where I'm leaning with that. The alternative that I had kind of forgotten about and then I got excited about again for this yarn is, I think it's the Lacy Polo Tee by Spectacle Strick. I'll add a photo. I think that's what it's called. And it's just like a big basic raglan t-shirt with like this really cute kind of pointed collar that I think has like a crochet edge around the collar too. Very much my style. I'm very much a collared shirt person. Get a lot of wear out of it. It's nice and loose. But held one, my gauge with this yarn held triple, my needles up from a size US 7 to a US 8. This is a US 8, which a 4.5 millimeter to a 5 millimeter. It calls for 4.5. I got gauge at a 5 millimeter. That was a good gauge, but based on my math for the yardage for the cone, I think that would be seriously pushing it held triple. I don't think I would have enough, or it would be super cropped. And I could play that game, but I have a feeling I would lose that game. It's like just on the edge. It's not on the edge. I have just enough under, I believe, what it requires that I think it would make a more significant difference. If it was close, I'd say, okay, this is going to be fine. But it's a pretty big difference, I think. I mean, I'll go back and do the math again, but based on the cone size, held triple, just in the vibes, the feeling, I don't think I'd have enough. So I was like, oh, I'll do the same thing. I'll knit it up with 2 strands, see how that feels. Because the gauge for the pattern is, I can't remember what the row gauge is, but the stitch gauge is 17 stitches. And this is with 2 strands of knitting for olive pure silk. So that's like, they listed as a fingering. That's maybe a DK. That's like a light DK. We're talking like sport. Sport at a 17 stitch gauge feels like it's pushing it. That isn't even honestly what the fabric looks like. But my problem here is that there's no projects for the pattern. So I don't even have like a little bit of reference trying to figure out, like, based on what other people have, what I can get away with. So this is 2 strands on US 8 5 millimeter. And it's pretty much at gauge, but this is a loose fabric. This is like not really what I was hoping for. I think because it's multi, like against something, it's not necessarily the see-through fabric. I just don't know if this is the fabric that I want. And it's a big enough, boxy enough tee that my fear is, as a loose fabric, it's really gonna pull. it's going to have some weight to it and it's not going to look very good. I feel like I'm stuck because that was kind of like, it felt like a funky enough piece to use these colors with. And I kind of got excited about that. And now I don't know if it's going to work. And I could go buy a fingering weight strand and hold it with this. But then that kind of defeats the purpose of like not spending any, not spending any money, but just using the Thrifted code on this. So I'm a little stuck. I a little bit don't know what to do. I can't decide. Should I risk it with the 3 strands? Should I risk it with the 2 strands? Should I knit the 2 strands on the 4.5 so it's a tighter gauge, but then maybe my piece comes out smaller? Like there's so many options here and I'm really lost. I'm lost in the sauce. I don't know what to do. If there were projects on Ravelry, I think I could have a little more confidence in my choices, but I'm not feeling it. And I have Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, and so I could hold it together and kind of like feel the difference. And 2 strands of this is definitely lighter than Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, but not by a lot. 3 strands of this is like the same as 2 strands of Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, maybe a little heavier. So I don't know. It's kind of an odd gauge. Sometimes I wish you could filter Ravelry projects by gauge as well easily, because I think maybe there's a filter, but I haven't used it and it's not one of the like big easy to use filters, because it's like, I mean, what did I face with this year? It was I think the Amy sweater by Petite Knit is marked as like a worsted weight, but the gauge is the same as like all her DK weight patterns. So I was like, I can just use a DK, and then I used a DK and it was fine. Because I filter by weight of yarn, because you have to narrow it down somehow. And then you're like, oh, this is a DK weight pattern. And then you look at it, but then it's got like some crazy gauge that seems like it's for a totally different weight of yarn. I don't know if anyone else has ever faced this, but this is what I'm feeling. I can't decide. I was kind of feeling excited about this and excited about the prospect of casting this on, and then it got sort of shot down. So that is that. That's my spiel on that. I'm going to go over my needlepoint really quick, and then I'm going to show you my acquisitions. I have a lot to show you today. It's so exciting and fun. This is where we're at with my needlepoint. It looks so crazy in the back. I am getting close to having all of the inside parts filled in. I have like almost 2 full hanks of the thread yet, and I just do not think that's going to be enough. But I'm looking at buying another quantity for another project, and Wool Warehouse actually sells this same floss. I mean, it's wool, the tapestry wool. So I was thinking I'd probably buy it for the project and then buy a couple more skeins of this same color. I know it's a different dye lot. It'll likely be slightly different, but that is also part of why I've been doing all the inner filling first and not trying to do any of the border, because my thought is, even if it's different, if I fill in almost the whole inside and then maybe start doing like a row along the outside, whatever I do for like the corners, even if it's a slightly different color, it'll look semi-intentional. It won't look totally crazy. Yeah. So I love this. I mean, the green is dark green is a little too close to the blue, but that's not the end of the world. For like a project that's literally a mishmash of free tapestry wool that I got, I am so happy with how it's turning out. I'm really psyched about it. It's very cool. And it's been a fun little game filling this in to do it in the most efficient manner. So I'm not like on the back jumping over into different spots. But yeah, so most of the inside I have left is like this. I'm probably going to fill in most of this and in between some of these in here. So really there isn't that much left. It just kind of feels like a lot. I finally did this guy's other little eyeball. The next pattern I want to do is a bell pull that I'd like to do. And that's like a big, long, it's like 6 inches wide, and then it's like 4 feet long. And I think it'd be really cool to put right here, because I don't have anything else to put right here. And this is like this arch. There isn't really that space on the other side. It's just this one side. So I think that would be really fun. And there's a sale on the same DMC tapestry wool on Wool Warehouse right now. It's kind of, it's very interesting. I was posting this on my story as well. Sorry, I'm like really talkative today, but I've been thinking about a lot of things, and I wanted to post last week, but I didn't get a chance. I have these couple of vintage needlepoint books. I actually just ordered another, and I have another in like my list, but it's such a kit based hobby. If you go online, it's all like kits for a piece like this, and they're really expensive. Like they're like can be like $100 to hundreds of dollars easily. The bell pull I want to do, it's like a $200 kit. And I understand, like, I'm not saying that it's not worth that. A lot of the canvases are not plain like this. They're painted with the chart on them so you can see and do it like that. But as a knitter, I'm already used to reading off of a chart and doing stitches just in a slightly different way. So that's not scary to me or intimidating. So I don't see why that's not more common. It feels like it's not very common in the needlepoint hobby to really fully DIY it. That may also be because a lot of these designs are super color specific. So you're not totally winging it necessarily. You want to use the colors that the designer used to make it look the same. So people aren't just like going and figuring it out themselves and buying their own colors for a design like I essentially more or less did. I just think it's really interesting, and I've tried to find more resources, but I haven't found a ton. So if you have someone you recommend for info on DIYing it and like doing it yourself, or a YouTuber, because there are not a ton of needlepoint YouTubers, please let me know. It seems like a lot of I was looking at how to do a needlepoint belt yourself. There's like no information on that really. Like there's how to stitch it, but there's nothing about how to finish it. There aren't any kits with like where you can just buy the notions, the leather parts to like assemble the belt at the end. You like can send it into some place to get it done for like $80. Even if the belt parts are like $50, I personally would probably rather buy the leather belt parts myself and do it myself. I just don't know why that isn't an option. It's really interesting to me. I find it very interesting. And maybe because it's not a super big hobby like knitting and stuff is right now, so it hasn't been kind of modernized in the way that like things like knitting and crochet have been by the younger generation and what they want and what they like. I just think it's kind of funny. So we'll see how that journey goes. If you have any tips, let me know. Yeah, I'm probably going to do that belt pull. I'm thinking I'm pretty excited about it. It should be cool. And then I'd like to do a belt for my husband at some point because I think he would really like a belt with like fish on it or something. He would love that. And that would be, after this monster, something like that I feel like would be super easy. Just a long strip, easy peasy. I can do that. So there's that to look out for in the future. So just give me 1 second and I'll get my acquisitions. So my acquisitions today are all unraveled sweater yarns. I've got 3 different ones. One of them is a piece that I've had for a while and then I just decided to unravel, and then 2 I picked up the other day. The first one is this cream tan off-white yarn that's got these little forgetting what they're called, like neps, not neps, like little tweety bits in it. It's 90% wool and 10% silk. It was this like Irish wool zip up sweater. It was pretty stinky. It smells better now, but I definitely washed it a couple times. It was very, very stretched out, as a lot of these sweaters tend to be. But yeah, it came apart really nicely. I think this is going to be a really nice, good wool for a sweater. It's not too itchy. It's always funny how these pieces feel so itchy when you get them at the thrift store, and then you frog them and knit them into something else, and they're like magically not as itchy rustic. I mean, it's not rustic. I don't know if they just need a good wash. It's just sometimes they're real crunchy when you get them, and then they're fine. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. This will be a nice piece. I don't know what I'm going to knit with it, but I have enough for a sweater quantity. And then I have 2 others that are both cashmere. This one, I don't think I took a picture of the original piece. I'm not quite done unraveling this because I had to put stuff away. But this is a really fine cashmere in this sort of bright blue. I'm not going to knit this on its own, similarly to how I have in the past. I'm going to hold this together with other cashmere I've unraveled. I don't have like the full quantity yet, but my plan is to find a couple more really lightweight cashmere sweaters and hold them all together to get this like cool multi-marled look. So I just have to find some similar cool tones to this blue, like maybe some purples and greens, and then I can hold them all together to make a cool cashmere sweater. Because obviously cashmere, when you find it, is usually super lightweight. This sweater had holes in it, which is also, I feel like, pretty common for cashmere because it's so delicate and then you can't really fix it without it being obvious. So yeah, And then the other yarn that I have is also cashmere, and it's a cashmere boucle, which is kind of cool. And it's just like dark Bordeaux red. And that's it pulled tight. So it's very much a boucle. I have probably a sweater's quantity of this. I haven't put either of these on the knitting knot yet, so I don't know how much I have. This one I have figured out the length total. No, I haven't actually, but I did one of them on the nitty knotty, so I can figure the rest of them out by weight. This sweater also had holes in it. It also had these crazy, like, the sleeves were together and then they split into like a big bell sleeve thing at the bottom. It was kind of hard to pull apart because it was boucle, but I made it work, and this should be a cool one. Yeah, very pretty red, a nice Ann Taylor sweater that had a big old hole in it, and now it'll be something else at some point. So those are all my acquisitions. I hope you enjoyed today, my yapping. There's a lot going on in the next couple of weeks. I might get another podcast out. I have another video planned. We will see how it goes, and then I'm on a trip for a little while, so I'm not sure exactly what the schedule would be. But I hope you enjoyed. I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe if you did. The support means the world to me. I love that people come and watch this and chat with me in the comments and all of that. It's a lot of fun, and it helps me get all my thoughts about my projects out. Sometimes I finish these videos and then I'm like, oh, I know what I should do because I've talked through it. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great day, and happy knitting.